Keep it as simple as you possibly can. Get one thing working, get it right, and then move on to the next bit. I think diversification is incredibly important for a company, for its longevity, for its redundancy, for its ability to grow and ability to scale. But don't try to do 10 things until you're doing one thing very, very well, because you're going to, rather than, you're going to fail at 10 things instead of doing one thing right? You have to build the blocks first before you can keep going.
Honest Ecommerce is a weekly podcast where we interview direct-to-consumer brand founders and leaders to find out what it takes to start, grow, and scale an online business today. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Honest Ecommerce. Today I'm welcoming to the show Nathan Vazquez. He is an ex-banker and now the CEO of Pipsticks, a sticker and stationery company. Nathan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chase. It's an honor to be here. I'm super stoked to have a conversation today.
I'm excited to chat. For those that don't know, or maybe you don't even know, I've been trying to make this interview happen now for about 2 years, and we're finally here. We met at Sub Summit. I always like to shout out places where I meet people at conferences, try to get them out of their houses. How do you like that conference?
Yeah, Sub Summit's great. I've been going since I think it's the second year, so it's probably 7 or 8 years now. I started in Austin. They did one in Detroit, and then year 2 was in Austin, and I missed 1 year for my son's middle school graduation. But otherwise, I've been there every year. It's a great group of guys. It's a good conference, a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. Next year, I think it's going to be in Kansas City, so I'm excited for a change of scenery. But awesome. Let's kind of talk about it. So Pipsticks is a sticker and stationery company. Give me a little bit more than that. What are the types of products you're bringing to market? How does it work? Just what's the elevator pitch about the company? Yeah,
well, so the elevator pitch, I give you the one floor elevator pitch is, we sell happiness, right? So, there's lots of bits and pieces of what we sell. We sell stickers, we sell stationery, we sell notebooks, journals, anything sort of stationery adjacent. We started out as a subscription company. We've moved past that. We sell one-off products, non-subscription. We do it, on our website. We do it, wholesale, B2B market. And in the last couple of years, we've launched into licenses. So we have licenses with companies like Sanrio for Hello Kitty and Friends. We do Care Bears. We're about to launch, Rainbow Bright. We do Peanuts, sort of anything that's, I would say 80s rainbow, happy, puffy, scratch and sniff. I mean, if you look at me, if you're on video, I'm pretty off brand. I'm the late 40s, nearly 50 guy wearing a blue shirt and a gray beard. And our audience is all scratch and sniff, rainbow unicorns, and Care Bears. That's what we do. But the elevator pitch is, we sell happiness.
All right. I love that. Now take me back in time. Where did you get this idea? I'm going to sell stickers on the internet for a career.
Yeah. So, to be clear, I did not get this idea. My wife she's the genius behind the idea. We were living in New York, and about to move to London for the second time for my work. I used to be in finance. I was a trader at Citibank for 15 years. And my wife, was or is a graphic designer. And had always, sort of wanted to start a company. She'd always had the entrepreneurial bug. And so she would have ideas. She used to call me the destroyer of ideas. She'd come up with great fun ideas and I'd be like, nah, that one's not going to work. That doesn't make any sense. And she came up with the idea for a curated sticker club. And this was sort of, Dollar Shave Club was big at the time. It was the subscription boom. It must be, I guess, 11 years ago now, 10, 11 years. So subscriptions made a lot of sense. They were very popular. And the economics made sense. And this one seemed reasonable. So I didn't destroy that idea. And she went on about it herself, got the company started. She spent, probably 6-9 months just working on it, getting it going in the background. She is a graphic designer, but was also a stay-at-home mom at the time, and was looking to do something that would keep her active so that when the kids were off to school, she could jump back into the workforce and have a resume that didn't look like there was a big gap in the middle. So she launched the company. We were about to move to London. We moved in June or July. She did the soft launch with friends and family right about then. And then in September, was the hard launch, went public. We got to London for my second stint there. And immediately politics of the bank, my boss's boss left to join some hedge fund. It got political. They wiped out the entire department that they sent me, to London to help manage. And it was just a very good time to maybe spend less time at the bank. So I ended up being in London only for a year that time. We came back a year later. The company was about a year old. It was growing well. We moved back to the States. And I thought I'll take a couple of months off to take a little bit of a break before I jump back into finance. And in that break, I decided to help Mo, my wife, out with the pipsticks, with the stickers. And 3-4 months in, it was kind of interesting. The numbers looked a bit interesting. I had turned down a job that I didn't like, didn't really enjoy the idea of going back into finance. And we thought to ourselves, well, it's January 1st now. Let's give it a year. Let's see if we can hit some targets. And if we do, we'll reassess. A year passed. We hit the numbers. A year passed. We hit the numbers again. And now 11 years later, I've gone from a career in high frequency options trading to selling puffy stickers. So it's a bit of an unexpected twist, but here we are.
Yeah, you covered a lot of milestones there, so I'm going to make you go back and talk about specific things. All right, your wife is working on this business in the background, getting it off the ground. What did that entail? What was she doing? I know there's a lot of listeners out there that have the bug and they're kind of doing busy work, but it sounds like she did something right because she launched and you guys got subscribers. So what was she doing?
Honestly, the easiest answer is she was staying up far, far too late. We had 3 kids at the time and she was pregnant with number 4. So she was doing all of this while raising 3 kids who were under 5 and being pregnant. So, it's been a long time. It's a long time ago at this point. So I'll be hard pressed to get you the start of what she did as well, because I was a bit absent with the bank. But it was a lot of investigating with friends and family. We ended up initially we weren't producing our own stickers. We were sourcing stickers from third party vendors. So she had to spend time finding all the vendor relationships, working on all the pricing negotiations. She's a designer, so the look and feel was super important. So she had to come up with all the packaging, come up with the website, and then just all of the blocking and tackling. Where are we going to do? Okay, we're going to do it on Shopify. How are we going to manage the subscription? We managed it with Recharge. We knew nothing. We knew nothing at all. We didn't know what email marketing was. We certainly had never run an ad on Meta. I think she went with her gut and had a fantastic idea. And then, once people jumped on and started buying, and there was proof of concept, we just panicked, backfilled, and tried to solve problems as fast as they came up.
That's amazing. So your first version of the website was on Shopify?
The first version was on Shopify. We took a bit of a tumultuous path with our tech platforms. We started on Shopify with Recharge, right when Recharge was brand new. Our customer ID is some very, very low number because we were one of their early customers. And it was so early that they were, at the time, it's changed since then, probably not the best subscription platform out there. We moved to a platform called Cratejoy because they were much better at subscriptions. We were on Cratejoy for a couple of years. And as we expanded and determined that we wanted to do a lot more than subscriptions, that's when we decided that we needed to be with Shopify, because every app, every tool, anytime we wanted to do anything that was e-com, not subscription based, Shopify was just a much better option for us. So we then, a number of years later, did the reverse and migrated back from Cratejoy back to Shopify and back to Recharge again, and we've been there ever since.
Oof, I understand the pains of that, but I guess now with kind of launching on Shopify, launching with Recharge, I know that one of the Cratejoy as a platform does help with discoverability, but that came later on. So with the going to market of this initial sticker subscription concept, where did your wife and then you, when you kind of hopped on board, where were you guys finding these customers that weren't your friends and family after that soft launch?
It was all completely organic to begin with. The first year was friends and family, and then was word of mouth. She had a blog on the website that she would post on. But it really just was organic growth. Subscribers would tell their friends and they would pass it on. It was after we'd been around for about 1 year, when I came back from finance, that we decided we wanted to understand how marketing worked a bit better. And then I jumped in, set up the AdWords account, set up the Meta account in Ads Manager, and then we started running ads. So it was probably a year in before we did any paid ads. But once we got that up and running, then we had a bit of a lever. We could control it more. I think we were probably in the first year maybe up to 500 subscribers. So certainly not enough to make a lifestyle out of. But it was enough of proof of concept that we knew that there was something there and that we thought we could make it work. It was worth me not going back to my work and trying it for at least a year, and putting our chips all in.
Hey, everybody, just a quick reminder. Please like this video and subscribe if you haven't. We're releasing interviews like this every week, so don't miss out. Now back to the interview. With this, like, kind of launching Meta and launching AdWords, obviously that's 10 years ago, maybe to now. So budgets have changed, value has changed. It just the power buying of a dollar has changed, and how much ads are. They're obviously more expensive now than they were back then. But if you had to put a percentage against it, or just rough math, how much were you guys spending a day or a month when you were first getting started to try to get in front of people that weren't just referrals and friends and families, to try to let some of the other listeners out there understand you got to start somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, it was wildly different. I mean, the platform is almost nothing in common other than you give them money and they hopefully send you traffic. That's about, and it says it's not even Facebook anymore; it's Meta, right? When we started, it was a very, very, very low risk. I mean, you could run an ad set for $20 a day, $30 a day, and see what happens. The important thing to remember when you're spending money on advertisement is not necessarily how much you spend, in a given day, but it is about sample size. So there's nothing wrong with spending $20-$50 a day. You just can't trust one day's worth of data, right? You need to make sure you have a sufficient number of impressions, a sufficient number of conversions, that you have a statistically relevant sample size. So we started out small. We started $10, $20, $30, $40 ad sets, $50 ad sets. Maybe we got to a couple $100 a day. And then, it's a cash flow question. How much money do you have available to spend on those ads? But I would say, if I could go back and change one thing, and this is the question everybody always asks, is I would go right back to when we first started with Meta, and I would have a much better understanding of what my customer lifetime value is, much better understanding about my cash flow break-evens and my contribution margin, and knowing that I was getting $12 CPAs in 2016 for a subscription. I would have gone out and leveraged everything I had to try to scale that up. When you do find the CPA that works, when you understand your cost of goods, when you understand your cost of sales, when you understand your marketing spend and fully understand your contribution margin, if you hit that number that lets you scale it, you should scale it as hard as you possibly can and as fast as you can, because those windows, they do not last. That's happened twice in the business. And one time I let it walk right past me. And then we tried to jump on it a little better the second time.
Absolutely. Yeah. I when you started talking down that path, I was like, I know exactly what he's going to say here. Is he wishes he spent more when the getting was good on Facebook. Yeah,
I should have mortgaged the car, mortgaged the house, done everything we could have, taken all the money out of savings. Because if you're at the right CPA, and you can make the money back right away or within a month, and you can scale it, it's a fantastic thing. Unfortunately, it didn't last. CPAs, like you said, they only go in one direction, on average, and everything is much more expensive, and much, much, much harder to do with dollars on Facebook than it was in 2016.
I'm just going to venture a guess that the second time this happened was with TikTok.
Nope. The second time it happened was with COVID.
Oh.
Yeah. During COVID, everybody was home. Everybody was, tied up in front of their monitors. People weren't going out. And a lot of the big companies were nervous. So a lot of the big companies had reduced their marketing budgets, and there was less spend going onto Google and Facebook, at least initially. So all of a sudden there was less competition, and there were more eyeballs, and the CPMs plunged and the conversion rates shot up. The first month or 2-3 months into COVID, we were terrified, and just like everybody else, and we thought, what's going to happen? Is this going to work? Is this going to be done? And by the time we got to sort of May or June, it became clear that while there were a lot of very serious challenges, at least in the online advertising arena, there were a lot of opportunities, and CPMs and costs per click, conversion rates, CPAs all came down. It was still nowhere close to where it was back in 2016, but it was at a level where we were comfortable leaning in and spending more money. So I would say the 6 to 12 months after COVID was when we were spending the most.
I have been in business for nearly 20 years, and very few companies I have hired in that time have performed as well as Electric Eye. They have knowledgeable staff, and our project was delivered on time and on budget. Electric Eye has exceeded my expectations, and I look forward to working with them again. That is a direct quote. from one of our clients at Electric Eye. Electric Eye is a Shopify Plus partner that has helped over 100 brands migrate, redesign, and optimize their stores since 2016. If you'd like to increase your conversion rate, average order value, and revenue per session, we are the true Shopify experts you've been looking for. Right now, we're offering a free diagnostic to qualified brands that reach out and mention the podcast. Visit electriceye.io today to schedule a call and send us a message. Find out why we have over 50 5-star reviews in the Shopify partner directory. Again, that's electriceye.io, electriceye.io. If you sell big, bulky, oversized products on Shopify, I'm talking saunas, reformers, ping pong tables, exam tables, you know the pain. Your cart can't automatically show the real price to deliver that product. So maybe you guess a flat rate for your shipping, or there's that obnoxious email us for a quote button, and the buyer just doesn't purchase. That's why FreightRight built the world's first solution to make merchants' checkouts freight ready for heavy goods. Quote less, ship more. With FreightRight installed on your Shopify store, your customers see the true cost of shipping, including options for white glove or curbside, lift gates, appointments, even taxes, duties, and tariffs, all automatically calculated for any buyer anywhere in the world. Behind the scenes, FreightRight books the carrier, generates the bill of landing, dispatches, tracks, and writes the actual shipping costs back to the order, so finance isn't staring at a $0 line item. Prefer to offer free shipping domestically? Go for it. FreightRight automates the operation behind the scenes. Sell in other countries without local fulfillment facilities or distributors. Ship direct to consumer from your warehouse or even from your factory with accurate landed costs and reliable delivery times at checkout. Quote less and ship more with FreightRight. Make big and bulky finally buyable on Shopify. For the first 50 listeners to get set up with FreightRight before Black Friday, FreightRight will actually cover the first $500 in shipping costs on orders that are fulfilled through FreightRight. To take them up on that offer, go to FreightRight.com/honest. That's FreightRight.com/HONEST to get your free customized quote and start selling your best sellers around the world. Visit FreightRight.com/honest today. That's FreightRight.com/honest. Have you hit a wall with performance marketing on Facebook and Google? It might be time to think about where your next customers are spending their time online. That's where Realize comes in. Realize helps thousands of direct-to-consumer brands to tap into more ad placements across hundreds of premium websites, reaching audiences you just can't find on traditional social channels. With intent-based, contextually relevant ad placements, you can drive real conversions, not just impressions, and expand your acquisition strategy with better data, more control, and higher ROI. Realize helps you build high-performing AI-powered ad experiences backed by 17 years of data. And simple to set up, no bloated dashboards or complicated onboarding, so you can start scaling fast. You can also leverage your own first-party data to retarget people already in your funnel. So if you're ready to go beyond Facebook and Google and start reaching new audiences, head on over to discover.taboola.com/honest. That's discover.taboola.com/honest. discover.taboola.com/honest. Running an e-commerce business means wearing a lot of hats: founder, marketer, customer service, logistics, and let's be honest, sometimes even therapist. But one thing you shouldn't have to stress about: business insurance. That's where Next Insurance comes in. Next is built specifically for small businesses, including e-commerce brands, making it simple to get the right coverage entirely online in just minutes. Whether you sell handmade candles, athletic wear, or subscription boxes, Next helps protect you from the unexpected, from product liability to shipping mishaps and everything in between. And here's the best part: you can save up to 30% on your business insurance and get peace of mind for as low as $1 per day, knowing Next has your back. With transparent pricing, flexible plans, and instant certificates of insurance, Next gives you the confidence to focus on what matters most: growing your store. So if you're ready to protect your business while scaling your brand, head over to nextinsurance.com/honest to get covered today. That's nextinsurance.com/honest. nextinsurance.com/honest. Now, I do want to take a step back because I'm assuming during COVID, you were back on Shopify, back on Recharge, or were you still on CreateJoy at that point?
Yeah, no, we were back to Shopify by then. That was, I want to say 2019, maybe something like that when we went back to Shopify. So it was before COVID.
Gotcha. So talk to me. So the first 4 or 5 years of the company, you were focused on essentially one product, which was this curated subscription sticker pack. What kind of changed that you were like, we want to diversify a bit more?
Yeah, so I'll give you a couple steps. So when my wife launched the company, the idea was it was going to be a product for kids and really a product for mothers to buy time with their kids. It was a kids sticker subscription, and that worked. But we learned pretty quickly that the majority of people buying the subscriptions were not necessarily moms for their kids, but they were women for themselves. People who loved stickers, loved stationery, loved crafting, were fans of the 80s, fans of our brand, fans of Lisa Frank. So the very first thing we did was we launched a second subscription. So we started with our kids pack, which we still have, and we launched what we called our Pro Pack, which is the adult version of the subscription. And it's adult, not in like a Las Vegas adult way. We have another brand called the Swear Jar, which we just launched, which is for that. But it's adult in a just more sophisticated, smaller stickers, harder for small hands to use. Maybe a more sophisticated palette or content. You can put different images onto the stickers. And we launched that. So we launched our kids and our pro in 2 different sizes. And that was the first big pivot we did. And that worked great because women, mostly women, were buying stickers for themselves. And it was a lot easier to market to somebody to buy themselves a sticker, than it was to buy others. So that was the first big time we shifted in product. Then we stuck with the subscription path for a number of years. And when eventually we decided to move to designing our own stickers, we were no longer buying stickers from third parties. So we would hit minimum order quantities on the units of stickers. And if we knew that we were going to sell, and I'll make up a number, 100 subscriptions, but we had to buy 200 stickers, we'd have excess inventory. So we figured out ways to package that as individual one-off stickers. And we started adding those to the store. And that's really what pushed us to move back to Shopify was CreateJoy was a really good subscription platform, but it was limited in our ability to list one-off products. And with 2 subscriptions and 30 new stickers every month, we were adding 30 new SKUs to our catalog every single month. And there were a lot of products that we wanted to put on Shopify. So that was the first big push, was when we started producing our own artwork, and then going to our own factories and producing our own inventory. We had MOQs that we needed to reach. When eventually we got past those MOQs in the subscriptions, we just continued buying couple hundred extra units here or there. So we had product. And what we recognized was, we launched the subscription during the era of the Dollar Shave Club. And subscriptions were a thing. You mentioned Sub Summit. We went to Sub Summit because we were a subscription company, but we learned at some point that we're not a subscription company. And I think in very few cases is anybody actually a subscription company. We realized that we were a sticker and stationery company. And that subscriptions were just one way that people could buy our product. And we had tens of thousands of rabid followers who loved Mo and loved the brand and loved our product. And we were telling them, sorry, you can only buy 2 things a month from us. I don't care if you want to buy anything else. We're stopping you at 2 different products. And when we realized that, we started adding more products, not just our one-off stickers, but we started adding notebooks, journals, planners, scrapbooks, sticker collector books, which is kind of a cross between a Trapper Keeper. You're probably not old enough to remember the 80s Trapper Keepers, but a Trapper Keeper and a baseball card collecting kit. And we recognized that not only could we get higher price points, because that's a struggle with stickers, but we had people that wanted to buy more than just a subscription. And we could bring them back again and again and again to buy more and more and more product on our online store.
That's a very, very awesome story there. Now, obviously, knowing what you know now, you'd make some more decisions. But do you think for a brand that's just getting started, having that focus on one product, one funnel, one message to optimize makes things a little bit easier than trying to launch a catalog per se?
Certainly operationally. There's a trade-off to be had, right? Simplicity is important. Simplicity is powerful. I mean, one of the things that we did I would say we did badly, or that we still do badly, is we chase after the shiny new thing. So anytime something looks interesting, we get excited about it. We go chase it down. And that can leave you in many cases 80% through with a lot of different projects, which is not good. So yeah, I would certainly say when you're starting out, keep it as simple as you possibly can. Get one thing working, get it right, and then move on to the next bit. I think diversification is incredibly important for a company, for its longevity, for its redundancy, for its ability to grow and ability to scale. But don't try to do 10 things until you're doing one thing very, very well, because you're going to, rather than, you're going to fail at 10 things instead of doing one thing right? You have to build the blocks first before you can keep going.
Yeah. I always like to say, like, the shotgun approach to anything. If everything is important, then inherently nothing is important.
That's right.
So nothing will get done. We are very, very hard lined at the agency in the way that we work with clients. It's like, we are working on this one thing until it is done, unless you can prove something else is more important.
Yeah.
And it allows us to actually move the needle.
I couldn't agree more, but I will say that's a strong do as I say, don't do as I do, because we still have a hard time, focusing on one thing through to completion, because there are so many exciting, opportunities out there. But yeah, I would strongly agree. Pick the one thing, do it well, prove that it works. And then when you've got that on a well-oiled machine, then go ahead and figure out what's the next bit you can add, what's the next customer you can find, what's the next sales channel you can add to, because all those things, like I said, are very important in redundancy and in survivability and in growth and expansion of a business once you reach a certain point. But when you're starting up, especially if you're a solo entrepreneur, find one thing and do it very, very well.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about adding another complexity to your business that you've done recently. After we said keep it simple, you guys, you've launched wholesale now. How did that come about? What was the learning curve there as kind of just a native D2C brand from the get-go? Where did that idea come from, and how's it going for you?
So wholesale, first of all, is a completely different beast. I mean, the cash flow implications are monstrously different. You have to hold far more inventory. The sales cycles are very different. The customers are very different. It's very, very, very different than D2C. It is, however, a natural fit once you have the other part of the business in place. We had the D2C brand, and we would just constantly get requests. Hey, I want to sell this in my store. Can I sell this in my shop? We had a friend who owned a toy store who wanted to sell these products. So we just sort of thought, well, we'll give it a try. We'll help somebody out. And we backed into it. The first year and a half of it, we knew absolutely nothing. We did all sorts of things backwards. We had the wrong kind of catalog. We didn't provide the right service for customers. We didn't understand about terms. Our inventory was wrong. But eventually, over time, we managed to get the basics in place. Wholesale's great. It's been a phenomenal opportunity for growth for us, but it requires a different business outlook. Cash is by far the biggest hurdle and the biggest difference between D2C and wholesale. You need a lot more money up front for inventory. And then when you sell the product, you have to wait sometimes, depending upon the customer, before they pay you. There's net terms. So you have to outlay a lot of funds, to have the inventory to make the sale. And you're not going to see it on the back end for sometimes months, depending upon the customer.
Absolutely. What were some of the mistakes that you guys made initially with your wholesale kind of, offering, I guess? Yeah,
sure. I'd say one of the mistakes we made was when you have an online store and you have 1,500 SKUs or 1,000 SKUs or whatever some large number is. When the SKU's in stock, you can sell it. When it's out of stock, you just hide it from the website. Maybe you order more, maybe you don't. It's available. People browse the site. So we thought to ourselves, okay, well, one of the big benefits we're going to have for B2B is we've got this constantly updating cycle of products. So these customers are going to have constantly new stickers. They're going to refresh it. It's going to be great. They're not going to be stuck with the same old stale product over and over and over again. They don't care and they disagree, and that's not what they want. They want a catalog that they can see and understand, and then they put it in their stores. If it's selling, they want to reorder it. So we would constantly sell somebody. We'd sell them a rack, a display with 30 SKUs on it. And then, of course, the SKUs that sold the best, maybe 5 of those 30 would sell out. And they'd come back. They'd be like, great, we'd like to do a reorder of the 5 best SKUs. And we'd say, sorry, we don't have those, but here's 12 new butterflies that you might love. And they didn't like that at all. So they were constantly trying to reorder things that were working. And because they were working, we were selling out, which leads back to the fact that you need to figure out your inventory. You need to have more in advance, but you also need to cut down and whittle down that catalog and not allow as many options. Because if you give them too many choices, it's, sort of like the shotgun approach. You want to do a few things very, very well, have those things in stock and figure out what those are. So I would say our catalog offering, and the way we managed inventory was very difficult, very difficult. That was a big challenge for sure.
Gotcha. Now, not even just with wholesale, but with kind of just looking back on the last 10 years at Pipsticks, is there anything I didn't ask you about that you think would resonate with our audience?
Anything you didn't ask me about? I'm happy to drill into any sort of details about the marketing, how we look at CPAs or how we look at acquisitions.
Let's get nerdy with it.
Yeah. All right. Well, what would you? Any questions for me, or how do you want to do it?
Yeah, I guess distill down. Earlier in the conversation, you talked about kind of contribution margin and knowing your numbers. So I guess, could you give me a high level overview of, if I'm getting into Facebook ads, we've got product market fit sorted. We know there is a market for our product. People are selling, where we put out ads, people are buying it, right? Walk me through kind of that math into where I should kind of put my foot on the gas. I should invest more. How does that look?
Sure. So what you need to understand to know whether or not you can accelerate and increase your ad spend is you need to understand what your customer's lifetime value is. You need to understand how long it takes them to get to that point. And you need to understand what your contribution margin is to your product. And by contribution margin, I mean, if I look at how much I sell the product for, right? And then I need to subtract out three things. My cost of goods, which is what it costs me to buy the product and ship it to my warehouse. So what I pay the factory, the boat, the receiving, it gets in my warehouse. I subtract that out. That's my cost of goods. Then I subtract out my cost of sales. So for us, that's my merchant transaction fees. That's my pick fees. That's any fee related to Shopify. That is the shipping fee out to my customer. That's any other cost that I incur when I sell the product to get it to the customer. And then you have to peel out your actual marketing expense, right? And you need to know what your CPAs are if you're paying anything to an ad agency, what that is. And that number that's left over, that's your contribution margin, right? So when you look at your CPAs, you need to understand how much that customer is paying you and what all those numbers are together and how long it takes to break even. So with a subscription, let's use some real numbers, right? So if I have a subscriber that makes $30 in the first month, and then $10 every month afterwards, I'm at $30, $40, $50, $60. And if I know that my cost of goods and cost of sales is 50%, then at $60 in revenue, I am $30 left over. Then I have to subtract out my marketing expense. And if my marketing expense is $30, I'd be exactly zero for my contribution revenue at that fourth month. So you have to be comfortable in understanding what your break even is to know how long you're willing to go. Because you can always spend more for more customers, but you don't want to necessarily wait 3, 4, 5 months before that break even.
Absolutely. And obviously your appetite for risk plays in here. But just knowing your numbers and then having access to the capital to acquire those customers is also always like a consideration for some brands. If they aren't necessarily bootstrapped, finding those resources to spend more sometimes is difficult. Yeah,
the resource is hard, and the trick to remember with the resource is if you're spending $1,000 in a month, just to pick an arbitrary number, and you know that you're not going to break even until month 3, you need to have $3,000 available, right? Because you're not going to have that money back until 3 months. So for every $1,000 in spend, if your break even is at 3 months, you need $3,000. And that's money it's just used up. It might as well be floating in the air behind you. You can't utilize it. So you have to borrow, or you have to have the cash on hand to have that spend. So the faster you can break even on your money, the easier it is. But if your CPAs go up and all of a sudden you go from 3 months to 4 months to 5 months on your break even, not only is it more uncertain because you don't know what customers are going to do on the 4th or 5th month, but you have to have 3, 4, 5 times as much money as you want to spend just to even play the game. So it becomes hard to get the funds. So the more confident you are in your numbers, the more comfortable you are taking that risk.
Yeah. And then there's some other kind of potential, like if you're borrowing the money, it isn't necessarily a one-for-one exchange. Now there's more expense going into acquiring this customer that you have to keep in mind.
Yeah, that would go into the contribution margin as well. Probably not on the way you'd list it on the income statement, but if you have to pay 10% or 15% or 20% or whatever you're borrowing on that money, then that's going to come out of the net money at the end. So the numbers are very, very important, right? You want to spend a lot of time making sure you understand explicitly your numbers. Now, the dream situation is maybe you don't sell a subscription, you just sell a single product. And you look at the numbers and you say, okay, I sold a $100 product. It cost me $25 in cost of goods. It cost me $25 in cost of sales. You know, you have $50 left. If you can find a CPA, for less than $50, you do that. You make money immediately. You do that as much as you possibly can. That's how it was in 2016. You could buy the customer for less money than the customer was paying you right now, and you'd be cash flow positive immediately. Now, unfortunately, Facebook ads have gotten more expensive, and you have to consider the fact that you might not make that money back on month one. You have to look at the lifetime value of that customer and hopefully make that money back. We target month 3. It's arbitrary based on sort of our risk appetite and our cash flow. I know there's a lot of companies out there that are willing to take longer than 3 months, but for us, that's comfortable.
Absolutely. Now, Nathan, if I'm listening to this show and I like stickers, where should I go? What should I do?
Well, if you like stickers, I mean, obviously I would recommend you come to pipsticks.com. But those are going to be all scratch and sniff, puffy, unicorn, glow in the dark, sparkly. Like I said, a very particular brand. We have also just launched a not safe for work brand called theswearjar.com, where you'll find stickers that are maybe a little more edgy, have a couple words that you might not want your grandmother to see. But you come to Pipsticks or come to the Swear Jar, and we'll help you find all the stickers you want.
Absolutely. Nathan, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks, Chase. It's been a blast. I appreciate it.